Well, a warm welcome back to the channel, and for my first proper vlog on the little CL500. We're going to take it out today on some of the little country roads that I think suit this bike so well. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So I'm just here down the road from where I live, and I'll show you the routes that I take on the little CL, which I think suit it so well that I enjoy riding on. Let's get it started. Already warmed it up. Let's go. Nice Tiger 900 there. I used to have the 800 version. And immediately I'll have to stop because I've realised I haven't done up my helmet. So much to think about. Yeah, so the little 500, I've done it now just over 1,000 miles on it. Even though it's saying 939 on there, that not sure what that is actually, but it's not the Odo. Oh, it's 93.9. That's the MPG. So yeah, I've done just over 1,000 miles, so I think I know the bike pretty well now. I think you need to use a bike for quite a while before you really get the hang of it. So we'll go up this little lane here, go along this route, and I'll start to tell you what I think about it. First of all, riding position, well, it's a Scrambler. It's similar to other bikes of its type. Let me just close that visor down. Bikes I'm going to be comparing it to today a little bit are, first of all, the Triumph Street Scrambler, just because I had that bike previously. That was the previous bike I had before this one, as well as a Street Triple. So I've downsized to this bike, and maybe some of you will be doing the same. But of course this is an A2 compliant bike, so there'll be lots of younger riders maybe, and this could be maybe their first bigger bike. So I'm also going to compare it to the Scram 411 from Royal Enfield, the Himalayan. Now I haven't used that bike very much, but I did have a very short test ride on one, about half an hour. Gave me the impression of what that bike was like, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert on it by any means. But I've got to say, the first thing, compared to the Himalayan or the Scram 411, the difference in power is extremely noticeable with this. This of course 47, around about 47 brake horsepower, A2 compliant. And this, I would say, is, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, is sort of the bare minimum if you want a fully rounded motorcycle that can keep up with traffic and can give you a bit of fun as well. Now that's not knocking the Himalayan or bikes of that sort of power output at all. They're fantastic and they do what they do, and people love them, and I understand that. Any bike is great, isn't it? Any two-wheel bike is great. But for me personally, and we're going to go down this road here, this is sort of where it gets serious. So what's it like to ride? Well, first of all, you've got this obviously upright stance, which personally I love. It's why I like the Scrambler style of bike. Gives you a fantastic view of the road. I would say it's very, very similar to my Street Scrambler, the Triumph Street Scrambler that I had before. Very similar sort of ergonomic position. Got to watch all the gravel along here. Very similar ergonomically to the Street Scrambler. Actually, strangely, the seat height on this is slightly higher, I would say, as standard. Slightly higher than the Street Scrambler. They are really quite low, the Street Scrambler. And of course there's also a high seat option on the CL500 as well, the brown seat that you may well have seen if you've been browsing. Really good price actually. So I saw it just, it's £84 for the high seat option, so if you're taller you may well want to look into that. I'm short, I've got a short inside leg, only 29 inches, so this is absolutely fine for me, the standard seat. But of course, the massive difference, the elephant in the room, if you like, between the Street Scrambler and this is the weight. This is so much lighter than the Street Scrambler. I mean, the Bonnevilles are quite chunky, quite heavy, and the difference, to be honest, it's chalk and cheese. Now these, I'm going to start the sort of roads now that I think this bike just excels on, and that's these little lanes, speeds between 40 and 60 miles an hour. This thing just comes alive, it just wants to go. I'm not going to go fast today, but you can have some real fun on these back lanes, you really can. The local council have done a few repairs on the road surface around here, which is very nice of them. Unfortunately, the thunderstorms that we had a couple of weekends ago has dragged all this gravel into the road, so you've got to be careful. It's always in the worst possible place. They've done some repairs around here too. It's these sort of roads where this bike is just perfect. It's more than enough power, and you can have some real fun. I'll call this bit the roller coaster for obvious reasons. And whereas the Scram 411, which I rode on this same road actually, felt a little bit, how can we say, like it was running out of puff. The CL feels lively and wants to go, and it's got actually some power in reserve, more than enough to have all the fun you want on this sort of back lane. As I said, that's not knocking the Scram 411 at all, it's just a super bike. And it's all horses for courses and what you want from a bike, isn't it? But for me, that bit of extra cash outlay gives you so much more. I just think it's worth every penny. These, as you know, are 5,999 on the road. I think the Scram 411 is around about 4,700, something like that, so it's just over £1,000 difference. I think that's £1,000 really well spent, in my opinion. Others won't, others will disagree, and that's fine, but yeah, the main thing between something like the Street Scrambler, a heavy, bigger bike, and this is, of course, the agility. This thing is, it's like riding almost a mountain bike. That's the nearest I can compare it to. It's after coming off the Street Scrambler, this is almost like riding a push bike again. It's incredible. It's so agile. It feels like there's no weight at all to it. The difference in weight is around about 30 kilos, but it actually feels more than that. It's such an agile little bike. So we're going to take it on a variety of roads today. Oh, they've repaired that pothole. How marvellous. There used to be a gigantic pothole just there that I seemed to be drawn into every time I came through that junction. So if you want to know where we are, we're in the Wyre Forest area, and we're just coming up to a little town called Kinver. And we're going to bypass the main town and just shoot through on this little shortcut here to get out to some other roads. It's a route I take quite regularly. Now, I used to do this same route on the Street Scrambler, which obviously is a bike with 65 brake horsepower, but more importantly, probably twice the torque, or not far off of this little 500. And there's no doubt it was quicker, no doubt about that, considerably quicker bike, well, more powerful. But, and this is the but, do I actually go anywhere slower? Do I have to be slower on this than I was on the Street Scrambler? Not really. Difference is, you just rev this more. Use a few more revs. You haven't got quite that torque. But actually, in all practical terms, there isn't a massive amount of difference. It's a quandary, isn't it? So we're going to get out to some more countryside in just a moment, just as we come through the back end of Kinver here. As you can see, instrument-wise, really simple. Everything is there you need though. Gear indicator, fuel gauge speed, trip meters, etc. The only thing that is missing, and it took me a little while to get used to, is there's no rev counter, no tachometer on the CL. Do I miss it? Initially, yes, especially when I was getting used to the engine and what it was like, what it sounded like. But now, no, not really. I don't really need it. Hello, donkeys. Not really. Yes, I would like one. It'd be nice if it was there. But to be honest, did I used to use it a lot? Not really. So going up to about 60 now. I'm in top. I'm in 6th. And drop it down a couple of gears and roll on. And you can see, it's an urgent little bike. It's not by any means underpowered. If you don't know, Honda's actually changed the gearing on this compared to the 500X and the other 500s in the range. It is, oh, we've got a squirrel, suicidal squirrel, have we not? Come on. Yeah, they changed the gearing on this, so it's actually lower geared, which gives it more mid-range punch, and they've also done a little airbox mod, which apparently has given it a little bit more mid-range torque. Now, I'm not too familiar with the other 500s. I have ridden the 500X before, but it was a good few years ago. But I've got to say, it feels really punchy in the mid-range for a 500. It feels great. As you can see, there's no shortage of get up and go. Because we all want a bit of get up and go in our bikes. And with my lack of experience with lower capacity bikes like this, I must admit I was worrying when I'd ordered it. I thought, am I going to be frustrated? Am I going to get bored of it quickly? But I can honestly say, 1,000 miles in, I haven't at all. And I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything really. Just a quick mention of the little church around here, Sandstone Church, 12th century. Beautiful. No, I don't really miss the power now of the Street Scrambler. Would I like it again? Yep. But I certainly wouldn't want the weight back and the relative lack of agility. So it's swings and roundabouts like in everything. We're going onto a faster road now. Obviously, speed limits everywhere though. This road used to be have no speed limits on it at all a few decades ago. I call it, a little bit further along here, I call it the TT course, which you'll see why in a few minutes. Reminds me of the mountain. Worcestershire's version of the TT course. But even on these roads, these quite faster roads, I don't find I'm actually going any slower than I was on the Scrambler. I mean, I'm keeping the speed down a little bit now so that you can hear me speak. You can still do overtakes. You just have to plan your manoeuvres slightly earlier. And of course the difference, you have to rev the engine a little bit more. You can't use that wave of torque. This has got torque, but once you get to these faster speeds, you start to notice that it hasn't got the lack of torque compared to a much bigger bike. And of course it will have it. The Street Scrambler was twice the size of this engine, almost. But if you need to nip past traffic, if you need to overtake a slow moving car, it's still no problem at all with this. It's just a matter of, I'm in fifth now, I just dropped a couple. And as you can see, you get that little burst of overtaking speed that you need. The other thing with this bike is the fuel consumption, as I've mentioned in previous videos, and you can see on there now 93.9. It's averaged 94 plus in the entire 1,000 miles that I've had the bike, which I think is pretty fantastic. I mean, the Street Scrambler was economical in itself. I think I was getting close to 70 out of that, but 94 or 95, wow. With the price of fuel, it's a factor, isn't it? It's a factor. This route that I go on quite regularly is on the way to a bike cafe that I go to all the time, and where I meet my mates. That's the food stop in Quat. Very famous bike cafe around these parts. Now this is the bit of the TT starts here, and you can see what I mean now, can't you? Fantastic views. It's like being on the mountain. I'm going to keep the speeds down because I don't want the sound to start breaking up. But this road here now goes on for the next 5-6 miles like this, so you can imagine it was a bit of a racetrack back in the day before speed limits. And I think the highest speed part is just around this corner. Legend has it, you can see the road going off into into the distance there. Legend has it that quite high speeds were attained down this stretch. But we're going to get off now. We're not going to do all that nonsense. We're going to find another little lane. So yeah, the bike is perfectly happy and perfectly capable of keeping up with traffic on those faster roads, even doing an overtake when you meet lorries or slow traffic, no problem at all. But I think it's this sort of lane where it just comes into its own. There's that incredible flickability, that feeling of lightness, and yet with the state of the roads these days, the suspension that you get with a Scrambler type bike and the tyres, slightly off-road bias, I think it makes an awful lot of sense. You can see why they've become so popular, not just as a aesthetic exercise, but also as a practical bike on the roads. Oh, what have we got here? It's a dead piece of plastic. But the amount of fun you can have on these sort of lanes, it's just tremendous. And you can have it all at speeds that are sensible and give you a chance of stopping should you meet something coming in the way. Now, other people might disagree, but I think a bigger bike, say one of these adventure bikes, the 1200 GSs or these sort of giant machines, I just don't think they're that comfortable on lanes like this. I think they're too big, they're too bulky. They can do it, of course. Any bike can do anything. You can tour the world on a Honda C90 if you need to. But it's horses for courses, and I think for most of the riding that I think many of us do, this little CL makes a great deal of sense. Just coming up to Dudmaston Hall now. And we'll go up to the bike cafe to see what is happening there. That's very nice of you. Thank you, sir. That little signpost there, actually, ironically, is a safety sign put on by the police. And they've managed to put it right where you need to look when you're stood at the junction coming out, blocking your view. I'm not going to say any more than that. The road we're on now is the road between Kidderminster and Bridge North, which I use an awful lot. And there's a Himalayan, talk of the devil. And the reason there's all these bikes around all of a sudden is because we're only about a mile away now from the bike cafe that I told you about. It should be quite busy today. This is a Sunday morning. It's early. It's only 9:15, so a little bit early yet, but I've no doubt there'll be a few bikes here. And by lunchtime it will be packed. Yeah, there's a few there already. They're on the roadside as well, as you can see. But I'm probably not stopping today because I want to concentrate on this bike and showing you what it can do, what it's like. In fact, I may do a U-turn here just to show you how manoeuvrable it is. This is where, on a much bigger bike, you'd sort of have to plan, and this thing is so easy to ride. It's just like swinging a push bike round. So overall, what do I think of the CL500? Well, it hasn't disappointed me one jot. I've really enjoyed it. And the more I'm getting used to it, and the more it's becoming it's my only bike at the moment, so it's the one I use every day. The more I'm thinking, do I need anything else, really? Is there anything that I'm really missing off a bigger bike? And the more I think of that, the more I'm thinking, probably not. Of course, it's all a matter of personal opinion, and it depends where you're coming from. If you're downgrading from a much more powerful bike, like some of these that are just passing us now, you may instantly feel, whoa, this is tiny, this isn't powerful enough, this doesn't feel right. Undoubtedly that's your initial impressions will be, but given a bit of time, I think you might, just like me, begin to realise that perhaps a bike of this sort of capacity, this sort of power output, might actually be just as enjoyable to own as something a lot more powerful.